So far, the investigation in Elgato has identified Garangolm, Lunagaron, and the Elder Dragon Malzeno as the three biggest threats to the kingdom.
Capcom just made a Pokemon Monster Hunter. Hey everyone, X here once again, and today as you can see we'll be taking a look at the potential inspiration behind the overall design of the monsters introduced within Sunbreak. Now before I get started, we're not gonna take a look at Malzeno here. I've had previous videos exploring Malzeno's inspiration, so if you want to go ahead and check out those videos, I'll put a link in the description below so you can go ahead and check them out yourself. Today we're just gonna focus on all of the monsters outside Malzeno introduced in Sunbreak. So let's go ahead and get started with the very first monster outside Malzeno that Capcom introduced, and that is Shogun Ceanataur. The Shogun Ceanataur is a rather interesting monster that Capcom brought back because for many people, they may think that this monster is meant to represent a crab mythology or crab folklore, but rather it's not. The inspiration for bringing back Shogun Ceanataur is actually the personification of death, the Grim Reaper. When we take a look at the claws of the monster, they are meant to represent the sight of the Reaper. Alongside this, the skull on the monster's back is meant to represent the skeletal structure of the Grim Reaper as well. Finally, when we take a look at the introduction for the monster that Capcom did for one of their live streams, the monster sneaks behind the Royal Ludra after disappearing. This shows that this monster is a lingering danger behind every creature that it encounters, which means that they're portraying the power of death in that it lingers behind everyone and we don't exactly know when it will strike. Up next, we have Lunagaron. Now Lunagaron is rather interesting because everyone knows for a fact that this monster is a werewolf. So how can Capcom portray the werewolf aspect for this monster if it already looks like a wolf? Easy, make it stand on its hind legs and have its forelegs become arms and hands. That means we have this monster that can transform into part man when it becomes enraged. And this is something that Capcom does extremely well for this monster because the combat for Lunagaron changes drastically between its normal form and its enraged form. So overall, the werewolf aspect of this monster really does make it a very unique monster because it changes in the middle of combat, very similar to how a werewolf would transform between man and wolf when fighting against certain enemies, as well as under certain conditions. Moving on into Fanged Beast territory, we return to Monkey once again with Garangolm. Some people say it's based on the Jewish folklore of the golem, others are saying it's based on Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. The answer is both. The Garangolm is a combination of Frankenstein's monster and the golem. The rock-like hide is based on common interpretations of the golem, which is usually made of clay, but the overall silhouette of the monster is based on Frankenstein's monster. With this information in mind, the powers of the monster is also a reference to the golem once more, in that water and fire are core ingredients in forming clay. You need water to shape the clay and you need fire in order to harden clay and make it durable. The unconventional combination of water and fire may also be a reference to Dr. Frankenstein as well, in that he used unconventional methods in order to bring life to the monster he created. So hopefully that answers the question on what Garangolm's main inspiration is for Sunbreak, and we can finally put this debate to rest. Shifting our focus into the skies, we have the Astalos, a member of the Fated Four. Now this one is rather interesting in that I don't exactly know what Capcom was going for in terms of inspiration to bring back this monster. The best thing I can do is hazard a guess, and from my personal perspective, there is a potential that Capcom utilized the Nordic god of thunder and lightning, who is Thor, in order to bring back the Astalos. And the reason for this is because Astalos and Thor are both physical fighters and supercharge themselves with the power of lightning. So that may be what Capcom is going for regarding Astalos. However, at the end of the day, this is just a wild guess. We don't exactly know what Capcom used in terms of inspiration to bring back this particular monster. There's no obvious hints, unlike that of Shogun Ceanataur. And finally, we have the blood orange Bishaten, known as Bob in the community. With this subspecies, Capcom maintained the Tengu inspiration. What they changed instead is the item the monster throws. Rather than throwing persimmon fruits, it throws pine cones instead. In many regions across the world, the pine cone symbolized higher intelligence and possibly even enlightenment, with the pineal gland in our brain being named after the pine cone. With this information, it's possible that Capcom used the pine cones as an indication of the blood orange Bishaten's higher level of intelligence compared to the standard counterpart by changing its weapon of choice. This level of intelligence is even demonstrated in the preview of the subspecies, as it showcased more complex methods of utilizing its pine cones compared to how the standard Bishaten used its persimmon fruits. Now, there is one more monster that Capcom showcased, however we don't have a name for it as of yet as far as I can tell, and that's these raptor bird wyverns introduced in Sunbreak. Now, these creatures are heavily inspired by the likes of goblins and kobolds. Now, for me personally, it's most likely the goblins they went for here for two reasons. First of all, the design of the ears, but second of all, and this one's important, it's the population of bird wyverns that we can see in the wild. Raptor bird wyverns reproduce drastically in comparison to any other creatures we have seen thus far. That is something usually portrayed with goblins, so more than likely these monsters are meant to represent the goblins in Sunbreak as a means of Western mythos. And that, everyone, is currently all of the monsters introduced so far within Sunbreak and the potential inspiration that Capcom may have used in order to create these monsters or bring them back within Sunbreak. Now, this isn't over as of yet. We still have one more subject to cover regarding the monsters, and that is the concept of three lords. But we'll be covering that in the next video regarding these monsters. For now though, what do you think about all of the monsters introduced so far within Sunbreak, and what do you think about the inspirations that Capcom used in order to design these monsters? Let us know in the comments below your overall thoughts and opinions regarding all of the monsters introduced so far within Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak. Now, with all of that being said, if you enjoyed these videos, please consider hitting the like on the video itself and subscribing to the channel, as well as hitting that bell icon so you can go ahead and catch up on any future Monster Hunter content that I might be doing or any other games that I might be playing in future. Until then, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks ever so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Onward and upward.